Oh man, how you doing, my brothers and sisters out there in the strong lands of America and across the globe? I had a message from somebody in Cairo. They said they've been watching me. I said, Cairo, my God, you be safe. She said, all is well. And you giving me some Black history that I didn't know, because I like Black history in America. I said, oh my God, I'm really doing something here. I couldn't believe it. I've had messages from people in Europe, but Cairo? And then I've interviewed a couple people over in Europe. You know, you can look at it on my channel, and I'm doing some more of that. I'm looking for somebody in Australia who knows some history, some Black history, and how it connects to America. I do them all, man. It don't matter to me. I want y'all to know all this. And I got a guy on the channel. He good looking guy. Man, y'all gonna trip out on this, brother. He gonna put it to you. He gonna give it to you straight, no chaser. That's what we do on this channel. So come on, my friends, do this. Check it out. Hit the subscribe button. And my numbers is up. I had about 40 new subscribers last night. I'm happy. All y'all new ones last night, thank you. And I want y'all to tell 2 people, and then I'm really on the road. Get them to do it. And it's free to subscribe. It don't cost no, it don't ask no information. It just let me know you subscribe. Then I want you to like this video, because my man gonna put it down. Hey, how about this? He in the B-ham. That's what I call it, the B-ham. All right, I've been there a few times. Love the city too. Real nice, good people down there. I enjoy it, Birmingham. I want you to hit the notifications bell, because I'm putting up a video, at least 3 or 4 videos a week. And I might do it in the middle of the night because I just can't sleep. And I said, oh, let's go share some Black history. And I do that, right? So hit that notifications bell. Tell somebody about strong inspirations. Don't keep it to yourself. I had a lady hit me up one time. She said, if you know of a guy who know about some strong inspirations in my hometown, turn me on to him, because I like to meet a nice guy. I ain't no matchmaker, but I understood where she was coming from. I said, and she was good looking too. I just don't live in her town. You know what I mean? I said, hey, I know some stuff. Shit, I wrote a book, did a movie about it just in case, you know. But I'm good in that regard. Let's say, right? Check it out. And this is how good I am in this regard. This is my movie right here, my friends. Y'all see it? It's called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. Slaves who went to college, what them racists did to destroy Black business districts. Black millionaires in the 1800s. And there's one of them in his town that we all should know if you don't know, and that's that A.G. Gaston brother. Mm-hmm. Check him out. He did a lot. And I interviewed a guy who tells me and tells us about him. And then there's another guy down there who's a good friend of his. Oh man, he's on the channel himself. He's all 97 years old. Doggone it. And he is a businessman today. He said when he turned 100, he going to law school. God, I cannot think. I wrote his book. I read his book, One Man's Mission. But there's some powerful people coming out there. B-ham. And then that Bishop Calvin Woods, he on the channel. Y'all should read that one, watch that one. My man said they spit on me, and I turned the other cheek because I got the Lord on my side. He said they showed up in the middle of the night at his door with them cross like you see in the movies. He said the Lord made them walk away. Watch that one. It's on the channel. It's Calvin Brooks. And so that they're not in the movie, but I digress just a little bit. But the movie talks about that kind of thing, you know, what them racists did, not just in Tulsa, but in other cities. But then, you know, I ended on how we persevered over that. No, man, that ain't the defining moment. We own businesses. We did the thing. We built districts. That's what I talk about in my movie, and then also in this book that I wrote. Come on, everybody. And I had a good number of orders on this too lately. People, they checking out on this. Black Business book. This got over 200 facts, just like the movie, on the same note, but it's thorough. a little more comprehensive, you know, because I put more in here, more facts. I got over 40 Black newspapers, over 30 Black business and civic organizations. I got all the HBCUs, all the fraternities, sororities, several Masonic orders. They all in the book. You need to get it. The price is right, because I'd rather you have it than me have it. So I make it affordable. So that's what I'm doing, my friends. And I got the guy on the channel. He said, man, come on, man, let me go, man. Let me tell the story. It's burning on my heart. So here we go. I tell y'all one more thing, though. You know, I use that word strong a lot. Strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. That's my intro to my guest. He a strong brother. I know it. He look it, and he doing his thing. Come on, brother, introduce yourself. Let's get it on.
Well, good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. I'm Barry McNeely. I'm the Education Program Consultant for the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. I help develop programming here. I help develop curriculum. And we also have outreach into our community and beyond. And I'm just delighted to be a part today.
Yeah. Let me just ask you a couple questions about, are you from Birmingham? You a native of Birmingham?
Born and raised.
So you know, and you look like you my age. I mean, you know, in that era, you know some of the strife that happened back in the day.
Oh, that's what really has driven me to do what I do for a living. The struggle that existed in Birmingham was imbued in me through. You mentioned Bishop Calvin Woods a moment ago.
Yeah.
Bishop Calvin Woods was my high school guidance counselor.
Right.
And his older brother, Reverend Abraham Lincoln Woods, was my primary professor at Miles College. And so between them and my aunt, that was one of the 5,600 children that Bull Connor arrested in 1963, I've had this struggle told to me many times, and the importance of that struggle has been something that has been just beaten into my breast over and over again.
I love it.
And I'm grateful for it.
Now, how about this though? Why didn't, when you hear them things, did it not scare you to just say, okay, I ain't got to deal with this, or I'll leave and go up north, maybe where it might be a little quieter? How you get that kind of tenacity? How about that one?
Well, because I look at it through the lens that it was taught to me. And for example, when we talk about the Middle Passage, you had well over 12 million African people kidnapped and drug away from the continent. And as they came through the Middle Passage, through the horrid conditions, probably the most horrid conditions human beings were ever subjected to, it caused them to lose 1 in 5 of those people. And the way it was taught to me is to remember that I exist because I am the ancestor of one of the 4 that were able to survive during that time period. And so when I look at Birmingham's history, I look at it as an inspiration, because I am here talking to you right now.
Yes, I love
because
it.
of the courage and the tenacity. You mentioned the word tenacity.
Yes.
The tenacity of those people that lived here. I exist doing what I do because of them. And I want to make sure that people
understand. Let me ask you this.
So I'm not going anywhere.
How about this one? Have you ever been called a nigger?
Yes, I have.
Oh, how that happened? He saw you and said, "Hey, nigger," or something. How if you don't mind, how that happened?
Well, it's kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, okay.
We were, some friends of ours were, hanging out, and we happened to go to a convenience store, to get some snacks.
Right.
And as we went to the convenience store to get some snacks, there was this guy having an altercation with a brother, and
a white guy.
And he was, he was calling the brother everything but a child of God. And as long as I live, I never forget it. My cousin said, Well, he could say anything he want to say just as long as he don't call him a nigger. And the guy, I guess he was drunk, but at the moment of clarity, it kicked in. He said, that's right, that's right. Use a nigger, and use a
Really?
nigger, and use a nigger. And he pointed everybody around him, and all of us, you know, you'd imagine that
And he outnumbered.
something, he was outnumbered terribly. But the fact that he was so inebriated that he couldn't think of the word nigger, it tickled us.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, he pointed dead at me and said, "Use a nigger," and I said, "Well, I guess I am," and I let it go because, like I said, if he was so drunk he
So he
couldn't
didn't know
remember
what
the
he was
word,
saying almost.
I wasn't gonna hold him accountable for it.
Okay, how about this one? When you was growing up in Birmingham and you saw the white kids got a little bit better something, they can go to a swimming pool. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel like they better than me, or I'm gonna do something? Or yeah, how does that make you feel when you saw that?
Well, it pushed me into education. I
Love it.
realized that what would even the odds, what would level the playing field was something that couldn't be denied. And that thing that couldn't be denied was my ability to study, my ability to achieve, and then my ability to share it with others.
I love it.
So that's why I do what I do to this very day.
I love it. Was there still black only, white only signs in Birmingham?
No, by the time that I came along, those
over.
signs fell down as a result of the work of Fred Shuttlesworth and Reverend Ralph Abernathy and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963 with Project X and Project C. So I have seen them from a historical point of view. We have them here at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute in our exhibit and also in our archives. So I've seen them from a historical point of view, but I've never actually encountered one in daily life.
How about this one? Birmingham, to me, and Mississippi, you know, I'm a northern guy. I'm here in Detroit, everybody. All right, so you know that's the way that go. They seem like, and maybe Tennessee, Memphis, and stuff. They seem like they was the epicenter of the civil rights and the injustices that them racists tried to do to us. Is that your take on? I know it happened all over, but
well,
is
that's my take exactly. And what I would say to that is that the closer you are to the fire, the greater your chances of refinement. And when we look at places like Mississippi and Alabama, during that time period, in Tennessee, you mentioned Tennessee, the fire was burning. And so the people who were next to that fire, it brought out the resistance in them because they either had to resist or they had to cease to exist.
I got you.
And that was just not an option.
And got you.
You had more organization, you had more programming in terms of training people how to make this movement work and how to sustain it, because it was very much, in a lot of ways, a matter of life and death, if not physical, mental, and spiritual.
I got you. What made Birmingham like that, though? I mean, was it in particular that governor or that sheriff, that Bull Connor guy, and then the governor was so vicious? I mean, more than maybe in other places?
Well, you have to think about Birmingham was born in the midst of Reconstruction. And I have to just be honest about that and say, in the midst of the downward slope of the process of Reconstruction, because by 1871, Southern states had began pushing back and rewriting their constitutions and writing Black people into second-class citizenship. And Birmingham is going to be born into that very time period. And so the fire that I mentioned earlier is something that Birmingham always knew. And so as this city grew, it just grew along those lines of segregation, oppression, and just downright intolerance of
I
people
got
that
you.
weren't like you.
See, now, because now how about this? Maybe this is just an assumption. Birmingham was also a part of that because Black folks moved to Birmingham to get those jobs in the steel mill, right?
Exactly.
And
Birmingham
then
is
white folks
known
had the
as.
jobs. They go off to the war. They come back, the job's gone.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Like I was saying, Birmingham is known as the Magic City, and Birmingham gets that nickname because uh, the African American community at the end of slavery and during the period of Reconstruction, a lot of people left tenant farming. A lot of people left
Yeah,
sharecropping. They wanted to break the bonds of the agricultural labor
yeah.
that had been generationally fostered
I
upon them.
got you.
They wanted to come to work in the railroads and the steel mills and the coal mines and the limestone quarries. And they
Yes.
flooded into Birmingham in such great numbers that it was said that the city of Birmingham grew up overnight like magic. Hence, that's why they call us the Magic City.
I
You
got you.
mentioned this idea of people going off to the war. Well, when people went off to the war and they went to, you know, Europe and they went to the Pacific and they were fighting and dying there for things that when they came home, they didn't have.
I got you.
And that pushed people. And you mentioned Bull Connor a moment ago. Well, Bull Connor starts early on in Birmingham. He's the commissioner of public safety from 1937.
Which is the police commissioner, the guy over the police officers, right?
He's over as the commissioner of public safety. He's over the police department. He's over the fire department, and he holds sway in the government of Birmingham, like most cities would consider a mayor. And he was.
Oh, really?
He was pretty much, the head honcho in the city of Birmingham. But if you look at him a little closely, during his administration in 1946, in the first 2 months of 1946, you're talking about the end of World War II, as you were just talking about.
Okay.
Bull Connor's police department basically executed 6 Black veterans whose only crime was to come home and to try to encourage their fellow man and their fellow woman to reach out and try to register to vote and enjoy the liberty that they fought for on the other side of the world.
Whoa, hold on, let's
Yeah.
go back in there. Let's go into that. When he did it, was it like they were standing up against the wall? It all happened at one time. Is there a spot that it happened?
No. When I use the word execute in terms of the way that these people were rounded up for imagined crimes, and instead of being arrested and taken to jail, they were killed. And a lot has changed, but a lot hasn't changed, because we see a lot of times people are find themselves in the hands of law enforcement, but they don't find themselves in the hands of justice.
I got
They
you.
They don't make it to a trial. They don't make it to that point.
Is
so
there
going on in Birmingham in 1946?
Is there where any of those killings happened, lack of a better word? Is there a historical marker there?
At this time, there aren't any historical markers to delineate where those actual events took place.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm very excited about, even though it's been going on for a couple of years now, I'm very excited about the work that the EJI, the Equal Justice Initiative, does.
Yes.
Out of Montgomery, where they are reclaiming the land where people have been lynched.
Oh,
where people
really?
have been killed just because of the color of their skin, because of the fact that they're different. And that's an ongoing work. And so I would like to believe that one day, because I mentioned that they were veterans, but they were also civil rights advocates.
I got you.
And where and what happened to them needs to be preserved.
I got
because
you.
if it's not preserved, one day it'll be lost to history completely.
I got you. How about this one? it when you go to everyday life and you walking around Birmingham, going to the Institute, what have you, go downtown, and you see those historical sites like the 16th Street Baptist Church and others, can you become immune to that, or you just get mad all over again, or you just, and like where you work at, can you just like, okay, man, today I'm gonna have a good day and I'm not gonna let it take me down none?
No, it's something that you can't become immune to. It's clinical for me because I'm a historian, and it's
Okay.
what I do for a living.
Okay.
But it's emotional and it's engaging to me because I'm a human being.
All right.
You know, you can't recount the narratives of the lives that people lived under these conditions. You can't seek to retell what people had to endure without that grabbing you somehow.
I got you.
Just the humanity in you.
Yeah.
You can't ignore that. I often tell about Virgil Lamar Ware, who was a young man killed on the same day. You mentioned the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. Virgil Lamar Ware was 13 years old, and he was shot to death by 2 Ku Klux Klan youth. And the reason they shot him is that they were charged up with the idea of terrorizing Black people. And they wanted to make young Virgil run for them so he could be sport and show how afraid he was of them. And the thing is that Virgil was with his older brother, and he refused to show fear in front of them, in front of his older brother. And I can never tell people that without it choking me up. It's choking me up right now.
I can imagine.
Because I had 2 older brothers, and I knew what it was like to have somebody to try to make you make the fool in front of them. They wouldn't have had it. And so it grips me to know that he died for something that was imbued in me growing up under my 2 older brothers. So when you tell this narrative, you know, you want to make sure that you are accurate, because if you're not accurate and fulsome, then you're disrespecting those people's memories.
Yes.
But at a certain point, it still grabs you.
I got you.
And that's just, as I said, that's the humanity in you.
We're gonna get to the Institute in just 1 second. I got one more question. Did you have any white friends growing up?
Later in my growing up, but as a young child, you know, the communities that I lived in were, even though we're past the civil rights movement, the communities were pretty much still segregated.
What's the name of the Black neighborhood and the white neighborhood? Do they have the white neighborhood is the west side of town, Black neighborhood east side? How does that go?
Well, the way we do it in Birmingham is we say across the mountain. And across the mountain is where you find places like Homewood and Hoover and Vestavia. But on this side of the mountain, you know, you find your older Birmingham. So, you know, some communities say across the tracks. Well, we say across the mountain because Red Mountain surrounds the city of Birmingham. Birmingham is in what we call Jones Valley. And so the people who, now it's important to remember, during Birmingham's segregation era, most of all these people lived in close proximity to one another, but the laws that were enforced, they might as well have been 1,000 miles away from one another, but they lived very close. In fact, there was a street here in Birmingham, Center Street, where the law said that white people lived on the western side of that street, and Black people lived on the eastern side of the street. And when Black people tried to take empty houses on the western side of the street, the Ku Klux Klan and the Knights of the White Camellia began bombing their homes. And there were over 60 bombings in that area. To this day, they call that area Dynamite Hill. So even though they were very close, right across the street from each other, they could have been 1,000 miles apart.
Wow, man, that's super deep, man. So now, the institute where where is what is the jail? Let me see. I got this right. The jail that Dr. King was in, where he wrote the papers, is that jail still open?
That jail is still open. It's on 6th Avenue South. It's quite a piece from the Institute itself, but I'm very proud and honored to say that the bars and the door from the jail cell, as well as the keys and the stool from that jail cell, are a part of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute's
I love
permanent
it.
exhibition. So you can come to the exhibit and you can actually see where Dr. King was incarcerated, as he was inspired to write that letter by a local clergyman that basically told him he needed to slow things down and he needed to wait and he needed to be more patient. And Dr. King at that point in time, and all the civil rights leaders in Birmingham, Fred Shuttlesworth and
Yeah,
and Ralph Abernathy and many others, they were tired of waiting, and so they pushed forward anyway. And
I
so you
love
can
it.
actually encounter that jail cell as a part of the Civil Rights Institute's exhibit.
So now y'all call it the civil. Y'all don't call it a museum though, right?
Oh, uh, we call it an institute because of the idea that when we look at our mission statement is to enlighten each generation about civil and human rights by exploring our common past and working together in the present to build a better future.
I love it.
And so to build that better future, the Institute is a place where people can come and discuss the history of what has taken place here and how that history impacts present day events,
I got
and
you.
how we can navigate through these present day events to try to get towards that more perfect union that they
I
talk
got you.
about in the preamble of the Constitution.
I
And
got you.
so a museum is wonderful. It is wonderful to have things preserved, but an institute is just a step further, where we have these things preserved, but we also conduct symposia, we conduct outreach,
I got
we
you.
have, Juneteenth festivals and
I
Martin Luther
got you.
King Day. And so to not only have the information, but to make sure we're sharing that
I
information.
got you. So now in the institute, it does have exhibits of various sorts.
It does. Our permanent exhibit starts in 1921. As interesting as Birmingham is in terms of the separation and the segregation, it's more interesting to know that Birmingham spent 50 years as a city before it was legally segregated. It was segregated by mindset. And from 1921, those exhibits will take you through the progression of the civil rights movement in this city all the way to present day. In fact, our last exhibit deals with human rights issues and things that are going on around the globe as we speak. And we
Love
also
it.
have traveling exhibits that we bring in to highlight different aspects of our mission and our narrative.
Now, where is the institute? Is it downtown? Is it in the neighborhood? Where is it located?
It couldn't be located in a better place.
Okay.
The Institute is located on the corner between the 16th Street Baptist Church and Kelly Ingram Park, where young people marched and were, cut down with water hoses that were powerful enough to rip the barks off trees. And right behind the Institute sits the A.G. Gaston Motel. And this is where Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth and the movement leaders like Andrew Young and Dr. King and all, they would get together and they had what they call their war room right there in the A.G. Gaston Motel. And
Right.
Dr. King was always afforded room number 30 in that motel, excuse me, whenever he'd come to Birmingham, which was quite often. And so the Institute sits in the middle of the Gaston Motel, where they planned the movement, the Kelly Ingram Park, where they executed the movement, 16th Street Baptist Church, which I think is a shrine to the resilience of a people who were attacked in the worst and most horrible ways. And the Institute sits in the middle of all of that as a part of what Barack Obama left us as the Birmingham Civil Rights National Monument. He signed an executive order just about his last week in office that gave us that designation. And so I think it sits in the most ideal location that you could have.
Okay. Now is the Institute, now you say you have the artifacts of the jail, the stool, things of that sort in the Institute. What are some of the other artifacts that you have that's more noted, maybe?
Well, we have the pulpit from Bethel Baptist Church, where the Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, who started the Alabama Christian movement for human rights in Birmingham in 1956. And actually, he helped Dr. Martin Luther King to found the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1957.
Okay.
We have his pulpit in our exhibit.
I love it.
We also have pews from the 16th Street Baptist Church, original from the 1911 building. You could see the barber chair that Dr. King would sit in when he came to Birmingham to get his hair cut.
Okay, I love it.
There are many different things like that you can't see anywhere else.
Yeah.
And they're part of that permanent exhibition.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going away from the Institute just for a second here. Now the governor of Birmingham was who? I mean, of Alabama. Was that?
Well, that was George Wallace during.
That was George Wallace. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. That's the name I'm looking for. Because George Wallace was a notorious bad guy, and then he flipped the script that later in life, didn't he? And he become somewhat of a more gentle person. Is that right?
Well, you know, it's interesting when you look at George Wallace, you have to kind of to pull out and look at the totality of the man.
Right.
Because when George Wallace started his political career, he was a populist. And I'll give you an example. In 1948, at the Democratic National Convention, Harry Truman called for a plank on civil rights to be entered into the Democratic Party's platform. And as the leader of the party, he was going to get what he wanted. But when he made that call, all of the Southern delegates to the 1948 Democratic National Convention, they left that convention and they came here to Birmingham, Alabama, and they had their own convention, and they created something called the Dixiecrat Party.
Okay.
And they nominated Strom Thurmond to be their presidential candidate that year. You know Strom Thurmond from South Carolina.
Yeah.
Now, I say all of that to say, all of those delegates came back to Birmingham, but one person stayed at the 1948 Democratic National Convention, and that would have been George Corley Wallace. And when George Corley Wallace runs for governor, he runs for governor against a man by the name of James Patterson.
Okay.
John Patterson, pardon that.
Yeah.
And he runs against John Patterson. John Patterson uses the fact that he didn't leave the convention like everybody else did, that he wasn't, one of us. And he used that to tar him, and Wallace lost that election. And after Wallace lost that election, Wallace became the race-baiting, hate-spewing person that we all know from the history books.
Right.
But he didn't start that way. And when he was the victim of assassination attempt, it sort of brought him back down. And he eventually went to the front of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, in front of the congregation, and he begged the forgiveness of Black
Really?
people in the state of Alabama. And to add more to that, he was elected governor again with Black support after he did that. So it's that 1963 segregation yesterday, segregation today, and segregation tomorrow. That was a snapshot in the life of a man that he went, like you said, flipped the script. He went sort of back and forth in terms of where he was. But I like to believe he ended on the right note.
Yeah, no question. Okay, how about this? This is really gonna stretch your mind just a tad. How can you imagine a white person being as racist as they were in Birmingham?
You know, Voltaire, who was a philosopher from the Enlightenment period, he left with wisdom, and Voltaire said, if you could lead people to believe in absurdities, then you could lead people to commit atrocities. And nothing is more absurd than the belief that you are superior to any other human being that's walking down the street.
I love it. I love what you're saying.
But if you can ingest that and feel that you're more than, you know, it's the summertime. If a mosquito lands on your arm, you pop that mosquito, right, and you don't give it one thought.
Right.
Because that mosquito is beneath you. It is less than you. It is not your equal.
Right.
And if you can sell to a group of people that other people are not their equal, that they're the other, that they're marginalized, then it becomes easy for you to create and take part in acts of violence and unspeakable cruelty to them because you don't see them as yourself.
Okay, how about this one? I'm going deep on you, brother, because you can handle this, man. Because of the racist attitudes of the governor and Bull Connor and those other people, did that stagnate Birmingham from being a more growth city? I know it did better city because of the racial relations. They had to spend money doing those evil things, but Birmingham could have been a lot better if that wouldn't have been the case.
I want to take you back to my mother. And my mother said that the worst part about keeping somebody in a ditch is you got to get down in that ditch with them.
There you go.
And in Birmingham, Alabama, Bull Connor had the commission to outlaw Blacks and whites playing baseball together after Jackie Robinson stepped across the color line. Now that's important because the Milwaukee Braves were going to move to the South and take advantage of the good weather and open a market that didn't exist. Now these Milwaukee Braves had to consider the city that has Major League Baseball ties. And at the time, Birmingham had the Birmingham Barons, who were a farm team of the Chicago White Sox. In the city of Birmingham, the oldest professional baseball park in the nation is here. But Bull Connor changes the law that he sees the writing on the wall in terms of Major League Baseball. And so instead of the Milwaukee Braves relocating to Birmingham, the Braves relocated to Atlanta. Bull Connor is actually going to go after Delta Airlines because Delta Airlines wanted to have the terminal at the Birmingham International Airport integrated. Runs Delta Airlines basically out of town. You know where Delta Airlines has its hub now?
In Atlanta.
Yeah. So to answer your question, and we could go on and on with that one.
Oh man, I love it.
The city literally drug itself down.
I love it.
To maintain its stance on inequality.
Is there a question that I have not asked you? Something, I mean, we can go back to the Institute or whatever that, you know, that's on your heart?
Well, I would just like to say that throughout the events of last year with the evil triumvirate of the murders of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd, I would like to say that it has been a very powerful response, that people are more interested in the history of African Americans and the struggle and the movement that they have started, but are still very much continuing. And a lot of that history, a lot of that struggle is encapsulated in the programming and in the exhibitions of the Birmingham Civil
I
Rights
love it.
Institute. And I want everybody to reach out to bcri.org,
Yes, I love it.
where you can learn and you can also support. And we have a membership program here, and you can donate to the Institute.
Okay,
And so
everybody, let's do it.
I would like for what we do here to continue. And it continues when people lean in and they put their shoulder to the wheel.
Yeah,
And
I
so
love it.
I would like to just encourage all the people that watch your program to,
Yes.
to support those that support you.
Yes. I got one more question. If there would have been a change in attitude towards of Black people saying we don't have to go to those white stores, and we built up our own stores, and that was more of the emphasis in that desegregation attitude, wouldn't that have propelled us a little bit better, do you think?
You know, I think
you follow my question, right?
The idea is we have to look at integration, and we have to look at it in not the most positive way, to respond to your question.
Okay.
And when I say that, I mean that integration was always Black people going where white people were.
Right.
It was never wholesale white people going where Black people were.
Right.
And that dealt with business. And so in terms of integration, we had a movement of economics towards the white community that the white community did not reciprocate. And so that's one of the things that we have to continue to look at today, because Dr. King talked about, and I'm sure you're familiar, he talked about the three great evils. And he said they were war, racism, and poverty. And he was looking at trying to level the playing field from a financial standpoint. Right. And you mentioned A.G. Gaston and others, and these powerful Black business people, but the reciprocation is something that's still a work in progress.
Right, no question. Man, brother, you have really put it down on us today. I'm so happy that you have come on the channel, and the people who run the Institute are saying we're gonna let you be the one to do this, because you have spoken so eloquently, my friend. Strong brother. Everybody, this is what we do with Strong Inspirations, man. I don't know how I find these people, man. They got this stuff burning on their heart, and they want to come on here and tell it. I just do my best to come up with some decent questions that make, some that I think you might want to hear, my viewers, and that I know I want to hear the answer to. And my man knocked it out the park. I don't know, I might even tried to stomp him, and he stomped me. He knocked me out the park, my friends. Everybody, come on, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button on this. If you don't like this video, I'm coming at you again. But I don't know if it's going to be something as powerful as what my man put down on us today. So like this video, hit that notifications bell, and let's put some money at the Institute. $5, $10, whatever. Go to the website. You can do it there. Go to the Facebook. Follow them on Twitter. Y'all have some big festivals and galas and that kind of thing. Is there a big dance coming up? Where the people get shot.
We're in the midst right now preparing for our 29th anniversary, but the 29th anniversary is going to be connected to maybe a year-long celebration to take us into 30 years.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at doing that in November coming up. And so,
Okay.
yeah, just keep following us and
just keep following. It's
just
gonna
keep
be a
following us,
dance where they
we
get
got some things
sharp.
coming down the pipe.
Yeah, them activists down there, they're gonna be looking good. I know they looking good down there. And we're gonna drink some sweet tea. We're gonna drink that sweet tea. Not with too much sugar, because too much sugar is bad for you. To you, my brother, I say with all sincerity, my friend, I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love what you're doing. Educating them people, putting them programs out to people who need to know. Working at that institute is your calling, man. You good at it, and just keep doing it, please. And I'll come down there and I'll see you, and then we shake hands for sure, my friend. We'll do that. Everybody, that's it. We out. Have a good day. Stay strong. Peace.